Hey, what's up? All right, today I wanted to quickly go over Angular and how the repo is set up and how modules work and components and different imports and just some of the common error messages you might run into. If you've been following along, we have a working app. It's running. It's plugged into our backend. Currently, there are no errors. What I'm going to do is go to the code and create some errors. So at the top level of our application, you have source, and then you have app. You have a top level root module, app.module. And I've already set it up, and I've kind of separated things. So right here you have browser.module. If you comment this out and you save, and you go back to your application, you will get an error that says a required injectable was not found. In the dependency injection tree, if you are bootstrapping an NgModule, make sure that the browser module is imported. This is a pretty straightforward error. It tells you what's going on, but if you get that error, just make sure that in your top level directory, you have browser.module imported. So once you have that, there's another one I have, RouterModule, and it says for root. Now, your application will still work here, but I have actually set up different routes that do not work because the top level doesn't have a router. So there's no error being thrown, but when this is here, when we have this and you go back to our application, you actually see that there's a component B and there's a component A. So there's no error thrown, but if you want your routing to work and your routing is not working, make sure that you have the router module imported at the top level. If you don't have this, then even if you've routed things correctly, different routes, it won't work. So these are just Angular core modules that basically any application needs and that we've set up, and you need to import them at the top level. Now, if you look at this, so you have a PJL shared module. So this is a custom application module that I've created. I've put it in the shared directory over here. And basically what I've done is I've imported this common module, which is an Angular core module. It comes with some of the most commonly used built-in Angular functions. So I'm importing it into here, and then I'm exporting it so that it's made available. And then I use this HTTP client module that I'm importing here. And I don't need to export it, but I need it imported. And so I actually need these so often that I'm creating one shared module here that has what I need. I am exporting the commons module, so everything I import is made available. I add it at this top level, and I import it here. So if we comment this out, and we go to the application component, I will uncomment the service. So we're using this application core service, which we've been using, which hooks into our backend. But this actually uses the async pipe, which is a Angular pipe that, so an app.component.html. We have this async pipe, and this is part of Angular and something that we need and that we use. So if you go to this, so the async, now you get this error that says there's no pipe found with async. So we're using the async pipe in our app.component.html, but it's saying it's not available. And it's not available because you have app.module, and where we're keeping it, this PJL shared module isn't imported. But once we import it, it will become available and become usable. So that async pipe and many other things come from the common module. If I don't export the common module, you will get an error again, because the exports basically makes everything that you've imported public. And so we want to be able to import the shared module everywhere we want to use common functions, which we do. So you have to make sure that it's exported, otherwise it's still not available. So if you want to use something that Angular provides, add it in your HTML, and then make sure that the module it's using has imported it somehow. And if you use a shared module, make sure that you have exported it. So that is kind of Angular pipes and using shared modules. If we go back to the app.module, I've created 2 components. So just close all this stuff. Angular does kind of suck. I like Angular personally. I think I'm one of the few people on the planet. But there are a lot of files and there's a lot of separation of stuff. But I think in the end that actually helps. But when doing demos, it's kind of annoying. Anyway, so we have a demo A module and a demo B module. And like I said before, we have an A for demo A, which actually you're getting this async error that says, the pipe async cannot be found when I went to A. So it sent us back to the root. And this is because when I was debugging before, so you have demo A module, we need to import that shared module. So I've imported this. Application failed to build. This happens sometimes too, where you need to actually completely, like the hot reload doesn't actually work. All right, so we actually need to fix demo B. So I had removed it from here as well. So demo B also uses the async pipe. PJL shared. All right. So now you have A. Demo A works. It's using that same service. B. Demo B works using that same service. So if we look at the actual service, that's another potential error. So we have the application core service, and right now we have provided in root. What this means is you're providing this service to be injected everywhere in the application. If we didn't have this, you get an error, assuming you compile it correctly, but you get an error that says null injector error, couldn't find a provider for the application core service. So we're trying to use this application core service in our constructor here, but it doesn't have any way of injecting what file to actually use for this. And so there are a few ways you can do this. You can do the provided in root example, which I've shown you. I've created another component, PGL core module, so you can put it in PGL core module and click save. But then you have to make sure that you import the PGL core module into your top level app.module, and this will make it available. As we've seen, the error's gone. And you can also do it manually, where go to the service, don't put anything in here, save it, you get an error again. So you go to the core module, and in providers, you put the application core service in providers, and now it works again. So you kind of have 3 options. You can do provided in root, which is what I recommend. It's what Angular recommends. You can say provided in a specific module, and then just make sure that module is imported to the app.module. Or you can just manually add it as a provider here. But I'm just going to provide it in root because it's just simpler and there's not really a reason not to at the moment. So everything works. That's great. Demo B works. The other thing I'll show you is how to import components in different places. So right now we can, so if you go back to the app.component.html and you try to put in demo A component, it says it's not there, and this is an error that you get. It says it can't find app.component A. And this is interesting because in the app.module, it is there, you've imported it, but if you remember from the shared directory, even though we've declared component A, you would need to export it to make it available. And once you've exported it, and you go back to the top level, you have to restart it again. But you do need to export things to make them publicly available, even if the wiring's correct. So here you can see that demo A is now part of that app.component. And if you did the same thing with demo B, save, but you get an error, so you go to the demo B module, you need to export the component or restart the application. And now demo B and demo A are available for import in that top level app. So there they both are. You can do this also within components as long as you don't get a circular dependency. So you can import A into B and B into A, but you can't import A into B and B into A because an A would be importing itself into itself. So you have to be careful there. But if we go back to the app.component, get rid of, comment that out, save. And if you go to the module A, you can import the demo B module. And then in the component, save that, we can add app demo B. And so now when you go to the A, you actually have demo B there as well. And again, if you went to the module here and you no longer exported demo B, you immediately get an error that you're missing this. So you can import it, but just make sure that you're actually exporting the components that you need. And this is kind of how things are circularly connected. Rambled, I'll clean it up a little bit, but yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope it kind of shows you a little bit of how things work and covers some of those common errors and how you can resolve them. Thanks.